Hey everybody, welcome to Instagram, welcome to Facebook. Glad y'all are here, or hopefully y'all will be here in a second or two. We'll give y'all a couple seconds to hop on here. In the meantime, I'll give you the deal. Hey, there's somebody on Instagram. Hello, Instagram. And my name is Brent Baxter. I'm a pro songwriter, and I've been blessed to have cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, and Joe Nichols, and Ray Stevens, and several more. So blessed to do that. And what I like to do, hey, Kimberly, thanks for showing up on Facebook. What I like to do is help songwriters turn pro by teaching you how to write like a pro, how to do business like a pro, and I also connect you to the pros. And so we're going to talk, I'm going to share a little bit of knowledge today that hopefully is going to help you on your songwriting journey. And hey, Joseph, thanks for showing up on Facebook. And looks like Javier on Instagram, David on Instagram. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share a little bit of knowledge that will hopefully help you on your journey. And then what we're going to do, hey, Silky, good to see you. Hadn't seen you in a long time. And then we're going to open it up to your questions, any Q&A. We're going to finish up. Usually these last for about half an hour. So and try to make this jam-packed and as helpful for you as I can. If this is helpful for you, and if you think it would help friends of yours, I would appreciate a share. So you can share it on Instagram, you can share it on Facebook, you can share it in any Facebook groups, all that kind of stuff. Love the shares. If it helps you, it's bound to help some of your friends that are also chasing the songwriting thing. Also, this is based off a blog post that dropped today on Frettie.com, F-R-E-T-T-I-E.com, and the link to that is in the bio. I have a blog post for Instagram. It's at I am Frettie, F-R-E-T-T-I-E, or you can see it. I have a blog post that you can link to it from there. Or on Facebook, you can just link over to the blog post from the video description here. So again, I'd appreciate any shares, and we'll be doing some Q&A after this. So let's go ahead and dive into it. What I want to talk about today is how to keep your head in the game, how to keep focused on your songwriting journey. Because, you know, if you're a professional songwriter and it's what you do every day and it's what pays the bills, it's easy to keep your head in the game, especially if you live in Nashville, or a city like that, which is a music-centric town, because you go to the post office and you get bills that you know you're going to have to pay with your music. And while you're at the post office, you see like 2 co-writers there or a producer that you want to meet or whatever. It's easy to stay focused on your journey because it's in your face. You drive down Music Row and there are billboards for people having #1s, or, you know, other billboards up around town with music artists on it and that kind of stuff. It's just really easy to stay in the game, right? To keep your head in the game, to be focused on that and not forget why you moved to town, not forget what you're chasing. Now, it's a lot easier there than it is if you live outside of town. If you live in Missouri, if you live in Kansas, if you live in Oklahoma, if you live in Germany, if you live in wherever, you know, it's a lot harder to stay focused, or it can be, because you don't have those constant reminders. You aren't running into co-writers as much. You aren't seeing the signs around town. You aren't driving past publishing companies and record labels and that sort of stuff. And if you have family obligations, all this stuff makes it pretty easy to stop thinking like a songwriter if it's not how you're paying your bills, right? You have another job that pays your bills and that kind of thing. It's next thing you know, you look up, it's been 2 months since you even picked up the guitar or the pen. And, you know, there are natural ebbs and flows to the creative life, right? And yeah, there are times when family needs are going to limit your writing time. I mean, I got 5 kids, so every time we get a new one or 2, then I'm not writing as much for a while because it's all hands on deck. Either you're changing diapers or just helping your wife stay sane with these new kids in the house, that kind of stuff. It happens, right? Stuff happens in your life where there are seasons and ebbs and flows to the creative time that you have available and to the creative brain space you have available. But overall, you need to keep your head in the game if you want to keep pursuing it as a profession and not just a hobby. If it's a hobby, that's fine. It can come, it can go. There's no harm done, right? It's there for your enjoyment, so as long as you're enjoying it, you're succeeding at it. But if you want to turn pro, if you want to make money, if you want to get cuts as a songwriter, you can't go months without writing. You can't go months without pursuing it. You really can't even go weeks without that. You need to stay at it consistently. And otherwise, you know, you'll look up and find that 20 years have passed and you have hardly done anything in your music, and nothing, you know, your dreams haven't happened, and you can't even look back to see how you've really even tried. And I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to stay focused. I want you to keep your head in the game, because you have music in you that the world needs to hear it. And I want to hear it, right? I want some new jams. And I'm not going to get them if people don't write them. So I want to help you keep your head in the game and stay focused on your songwriting journey. And we're going to talk about 2 big ways that you can do that today. And hopefully this will help you. If you live outside of town, if you live, wherever you live, even if you live in Nashville, New York, or LA, or wherever your major music city might be, this can be helpful for you. And hi, Ron and Chris and Bob and Michael and Mary and Deanna and Mike, and thanks. And Lucky Clover, thanks for being there on Instagram, and Ariel. Appreciate y'all showing up and listening. I'm going to try and make this helpful for you. All right, so the 2 big ways I think you can keep your head in the game if you don't live in a major music city are appointments and subscriptions. And we're going to talk about examples of each. So appointments and subscriptions. I know it sounds really sexy, but it is what it is. All right, so appointments. Okay, nothing will keep you thinking like a songwriter like actually writing a song, right? So I want you to set appointments with yourself for solo writing time. So your skills and you get rusty if you don't keep the machinery up and running, right? You need to keep writing. I know that when the season's taking me away, when I'm not writing as much, I start to doubt myself. When I get back into it, I feel rusty. I don't feel as sharp, and I doubt that I still have the skills. But if I'm keeping the machinery up and running, when I'm getting in that groove and that creativity, the faucet's on, it stays on. And it's a lot easier to come up with my best work if I keep at it. And not only that, but I see song ideas because I'm thinking like a songwriter. I'm picking up more ideas. It's like the more I use it, the more there is of it. And so it's the opposite of a finite resource. It is the ultimate renewable resource is your creativity. And the more that you're thinking like a songwriter and the more you're writing, I find the more there is to write and the more there is. I don't run out of stuff. It's the opposite. The more I write, the more I want to and the more there is to write about. So if you, I would suggest keeping solo appointments with yourself. So, book it on the calendar on times that you're not free to do other stuff. Hey, Jeff, thanks for joining us on Instagram. So it's easy to skip out on solo writing in the midst of daily life. So you want to try maybe have a standing appointment with yourself, even if it's just once a week. Like every Thursday from after the kids go to bed, for the next 2 hours, like 8 to 10 or whatever. That's my solo writing time. Wife can chill out, watch Netflix, and decompress from the day. I'm going to go up and I'm going to write my song. I'm going to work for 2 hours on writing by myself. If it's something like that, and that way you just know, hey, you want to do something Thursday? No, I can't. I got a thing going that night. You just know, and people know. You'll train them to stop bugging you on Thursday nights. You set your phone on airport mode or airplane mode, and you get to work. And if nothing else, again, your friends and your family, you start figuring out that Thursday night's your writing time, and you maybe won't get invited to as much stuff on Thursday nights. But don't just schedule it. It's one thing to have it on the calendar, which is good because that alone, knowing it's on your calendar, I'm old school paper calendar kind of guy. If I see it's coming up, that'll kind of ping me, you're a songwriter, right? That can work that way for you. But don't just schedule it. You want to actually show up, sit down, and do the work. That's the important thing too, is you actually have to do the work. Another type of appointment to keep your head in the game is co-writing. And so still it's easy to kind of bail out on your solo writing time, and who's going to call you on it, right? Your wife is probably not going to get mad at you because you ended up on the couch with her, watching some show or hanging out and talking, and that's good stuff. She's, or your husband, right? It's probably not going to be mad that you hung out with him instead of going up to write. However, this is where co-writing comes in. Not only are 2 heads better than 1 for writing a lot of times, but you're less likely to bail out on somebody else. If it's just yourself you're bailing on, it's one thing. It's that accountability partner. So try scheduling regular co-writing appointments. You might let yourself down, but you're less likely to bail on somebody else. So even if you don't live around many potential co-writers in the same physical area, man, it's the internet, right? It's a wonderful tool and a wonderful place to find co-writers. This blog post that I'm talking about today is from Freddie.com, and Freddie has about every other month or so, and will ebb or flow depending on demand, but we have a co-writer cafe where people can hop on a Zoom video conference from all over the world, members can, and see each other face to face. We break you up into small breakout rooms of about 2 or 3 writers each, And you get to spend about 12 to 15 minutes just getting to know each other. And if you dig each other, you can share contact information. Then we bring them back in the main room, shuffle the deck, send them out, and you meet a couple more people. It's kind of like speed dating, only is, you know, if you don't like them, you're in Seattle and they're in, I don't know, New York. And so it's a lot easier to avoid them. You don't run into them at the grocery store. So it's like that. You get a chance to meet each other, talk about what you like to write about, you know, what your primary strengths and weaknesses are, what you're looking for in a co-writer. It's geared toward people that are looking for co-writers. So it's our co-writer cafe. That's one place. Also host a couple of Facebook groups. The Freddie Forum, which is for Freddie members only, the Songwriting Pro Facebook group, and the Climb community, which is based off our podcast, The Climb. And so people get in there. We have times and days you can share your music, and people connect, and a lot of co-writing relationships have come out of that community, because they see how they're interacting with each other and being helpful and asking questions and answering questions. People get to know each other, and co-writers have come through that. So, I mean, we just had a guy, Michael Steletta, who just came. He's all, you know, he lives in Australia. He's in Nashville right now, but he came in and he started writing with some people from the Freddie group. I think Randy England's one of them, I think, or Michael maybe. Anyway, there are a couple he started writing with from the Freddie community. And now, you know, he flew in from Australia, and he has some in-person co-writes already set up, some people to go watch shows with. And so that's helping him keep his mind in the game and actually have some boots on the ground in Nashville, which is handy as well. So there's some communities where you can find people, you can find co-writers. And these days, man, writers are a lot more comfortable writing on Skype, FaceTime, you know, Zoom, whatever your platform of choice might be. I mean, I use Zoom and Skype pretty regular basis for writing with people. So I think don't be scared of that. I think it's a lot more common these days. And so even if you don't have somebody right there in your town or, you know, within driving distance, you can find some people online. If you can watch this, you can find them online. So co-writing keeps your head in the game more than just steering the write itself, because again, this is how to keep you focused on your songwriting goal and on your dream. So it keeps you focused on the game, your head in the game, more than just on that write. You see that on the calendar. Oh, I'm writing with Joey on Tuesday. I need to be thinking of some ideas. I need to do some homework. I don't want to come in and go, I don't have anything, Joey. What do you got? You don't want to be that person, right? So that's going to prompt you to spend some time thinking about some ideas, work on some grooves, some titles, some whatever to bring into your co-write. And so that's going to help you keep your head in the game on those days in between those co-writes. Because again, you want to be consistently thinking about your songwriting journey, what you can do to make progress every day, and this is going to help you do that. Another thing, education, so books, online songwriting courses, other resources are a great way to keep your dream in front of you. You know, I mean, stop taking your phone to the bathroom and keep some magazines or books there about songwriting. And so you got to do something. You didn't bring your phone in. Not only is that a lot more sanitary, you can further your career and expand your thinking on some topics and learn some stuff about songwriting while you're in your other office. Another thing is events. So workshops and events can be really beneficial. Like if you make trips to, say, Nashville or New York or LA, someplace that may have some of these events, or you know, festivals, that kind of thing that has an educational component, you can find potential co-writers there. I know NSAI just had their song camp and advanced song camp. I've taught at those before. And you see the people making connections there. And not only are they getting fired up and leave with a lot more knowledge about music business and how to write, so they're more equipped, but also they're you know, handing out business cards and music and all that stuff and making friends that later they may write with if they're in the same town, or they may write with over Skype or whatever, and they're building a community. So events, live events can be very helpful, but also there are online events. So I was talking about Freddie before, and we have a monthly jam session, which is Just Ask Me. I do those every month. I have one coming up tonight. So if you're a Freddie member, be looking for your invite. But I have one tonight, and so all the Freddie members can hop on a video conference. We're all looking at each other, can hear each other, and people are chit-chatting by the time I get there. And I teach a little something, then we do Q&A for the rest of the time. And that's free with your membership, happens every month. And people get to know each other through that. We also have other events like Know the Pro that happened on a regular basis. So these events where you get motivated, you get educated, and you get some some community happening is an important thing. So you know, if you are looking for a cool community, I definitely recommend Freddie. It's $5 a month. It's pretty ridiculously underpriced, but there's a lot of good stuff going on there. So a couple thumbs up, so maybe a couple Team Freddie here in the house. But so I appreciate that. But yeah, check out Freddie.com, FRETTI.com if you're looking for that community. So those are some appointments, right? And now we're going to talk about subscriptions. And again, if this is helpful to you, share it around. You can share the link to the blog post. You can share the link to this video, whatever you think is going to be the form that's most helpful to your friends. I'd appreciate it if you do a share. And after this, we're going to do Q&A. So if you have any questions, just hold them for a little bit, then we'll jump on those for the rest of our time. So subscriptions, you can subscribe to blogs. All right, these are not all paid subscriptions. These are free stuff too, so don't get scared. Blog posts, right? You can get informed, educated, entertained, inspired, all from your email inbox, right? So we have the Freddie Journal, which is where this blog post I'm talking about today is, and we also have songwritingpro.com, which has blogs. I blog a couple times a week there. So subscribing will send helpful posts directly to your email inbox, and there are other good blogs as well. But that's just a way it's going to keep pinging you. It's in your inbox, like, oh yeah, and then you can, you know, short little read, or even if you don't have time to read it, it reminds you, oh yeah, I got this thing that's really important to me. It's called songwriting, and I need to be thinking about that. Have I even written a song this past week? That sort of thing. All right, so blog posts are a good free way. Another great free subscription are podcasts. Now, if you're like me, you probably have more time for listening than you do for reading. So luckily for you, podcasting is exploding, and it can turn your daily commute, your jog, your dog walk, whatever, into songwriting and music business, like workshops and inspiration on overdrive. It's great. While you're emptying the dishwasher or loading it up, you can be listening and learn to inspire in interviews or learning tips and tricks and insider business stuff. It's great. So there are a lot of good songwriting podcasts, and feel free to throw some in the comments if you know of some that I didn't mention to help each other out here. The Bobby Cast is really good. It's Bobby Bones. He's a radio DJ out of Nashville. His podcast is not the podcast of his radio show, but the Bobby Cast. So he'll bring in major artists, major songwriters, and get really like in the weeds, in the business, talking to these folks. It really pulls back the curtain. It's really good. You have And the Writer Is, hosted by Ross Golan, which focuses more on pop songwriting, so that's good. Made It in Music Business from the guys over at Full Circle, Seth Mosley, who's he does a little bit of everything, but he's a huge contemporary Christian songwriter and producer. So that really pulls back the veil on that part of the world, but a lot of other stuff as well. You have NSAI Coffee Break. You have Pitch List, which is hit songwriter interviews by a hit songwriter, Chris Lindsay, which is really good. Songcraft, and so those guys interview like legends of songwriting. And we have one that I co-host, I mentioned earlier, The Climb. Climb is an acronym, stands for Creating Leverage in the Music Business. So artist developer Johnny Dwinell and I co-host this podcast, happens twice a week. And we talk about marketing your music, building your fan base, how to write songs, how to write like a pro, how to connect to the pros, and how to do business like the pros. So we talk about that a couple times a week. And you can find that at, what is it, theclimbshow.com. And that's easy to find. So, man, each of these are different. They all are a little different slice of the pie, but they give you a valuable insider's look at the music business, and it can help you on your journey. So that's another subscription. So I'd definitely check out podcast. It's exploding. It's a great way to turn your commute into, into a workshop. It's great. So also YouTube or Vimeo. YouTube's a huge search engine. You can check that out for, hit songwriting advice. Just be aware that there's gonna be a lot of junk on there, a lot of stuff that's not really helpful, people that don't really know what they're talking about. So it's best to get it from the pros and the people that are in the know. So you have to do your own, homework on that to see if the source should be trusted or not. And then you have magazines as well. And, people subscribe to Freddie, FRETTIE, which is a great place. It's a subscription, so it reminds you every month, hey, you have the video archives here, and you have these events coming up, and you have the stuff in the private Facebook group, such as the creative Kickstarters that we do every single day in the Freddie Forum on Facebook to help you get the pen or the guitar moving and to get you some inspiration for that day, give you something to do, your little songwriting burst for the morning. Happens every day over there. And so that's another way to stay focused, is because you have that little, it's kind of like a game, your little creative Kickstarter. So what about you? How do you keep your head in the game? If you don't live in a music town, or if you do, but your day job and you got family and stuff, how do you keep your head in the game? Hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear it. I'd love for the other people to learn from what you're doing to keep your head in the game. And as I mentioned before, events are a great way to keep your head in the game. So, man, Freddie has some cool events coming up. I just want to let you know about them. So if you are a Freddie member, that you can show up and take advantage of it. If you aren't a Freddie member, it might well be worth joining just for these couple of events we have coming up. On August 13th, we're hosting a Know the Pro event with a successful independent song plugger, Shane Barrett. Shane's had a bunch of cuts that he's helped land. He just, I saw on social media, he just posted that he pitched and landed the title, or I guess the first track on Trisha Yearwood's new record. So he's getting cuts, and he's an independent song plugger, and so he's going to be taking your questions at the Know the Pro event. And then also on August 20th, we have hit music publisher Tim Hunzy of Anthem Entertainment. It used to be called Olay, now it's called Anthem, and so Tim's had his hand in a bunch of cuts like George Strait, Jason Aldean, Luke Bryan, all that kind of stuff. And so you can get on there and you can ask Tim your questions. This is free for members of Freddie.com. And so, yes, Marcel, it's in a blog post over at Freddie.com, FRETTIE.com, or if you go to my newest link at my newest post here on Instagram, you'll see the link to I Am Freddie, and it links you over there. But Freddie.com is the quickest way to find it. And so Shane's coming in, Tim's coming in, and they're going to answer your questions. You can ask them face-to-face. It's a video conference, so just like you're seeing me, they get to see you as well, and you have a moment to connect and ask your questions and get the scoop from the guys that are getting cuts. And what more can you ask for, right? So this is your chance to sit down face-to-face online with a real deal music professional, and hope you won't let it slip away. Best part, this is free for members of Freddie. So if you're already a Freddie subscriber, I hope you can show up. If you miss it, you can see it in the Freddie archives, which is also we have access to as a member. And so we have, not only will these new episodes drop in there after the event is closed, then we also have previous events like Hall of Fame songwriter Byron Hill, who had cuts by George Strait and Alabama and Gary Allen and Joe Nichols and a bunch of people. You have Jimmy Yeary, who wrote I Drive Your Truck. We talked to him. We talked to hit music publisher Scott Sherrod from Rare Spark Entertainment. We talked to rising singer-songwriter Aaron Goodvin, who, if you're Canadian, you've been hearing stuff on the radio, and if you're in the U.S., you're starting to. And so just a lot of good information that you can go back and watch the replay of the events you've missed. If you're interested in that, it's at Freddie.com, FRETTIE.com. You can get there through the link in the video description on Facebook, and over here on Instagram, you can just link over to I Am Freddie, and you'll see that link in that bio as well. And since we got some time, let's get to some questions. Hey, Sam and Pamela. Michelle, thanks for being here. Michael Ross says, best thing for him is to write first thing in the morning, write something, even if it's nonsense. Yeah, that's a great way to do it. I try to do my writing exercises every day. And Michael must not all write nonsense, because he did win the NSAI's lyric contest recently. So congrats, Michael. So he knows what he's doing. All right. Let's see. Looks some questions here. Let's see over in Instagram. I songwrite on my phone so that if I can't sit down immediately, I can write anywhere at my convenience. The phone can be a constant reminder that I'm a songwriter. Yeah, man, I have something on my phone called Evernote. It's an app, and so it basically saves it on the cloud, but I have a file in there on song titles, song ideas. And so I'm usually, if I'm out, I'm popping that open and popping some song title in there to capture it, because a great title that you forget, not going to do you any good. So Michael also talks about performing locally, co-writing, local songwriter, song critique groups, and all the things you mentioned. So NSAI online events, NSAI is great. I'm a fan and a lifetime member. Silky, hey Silky says, all the above. Usually do a writing exercise first thing in the morning for 15 to 30 minutes. A cup of tea to nurture creative mode. Yes. So then jump over your doubts and fears and be brave too. Got an artist visa and moved to Nashville 5 years ago. So thanks for the inspiration. Yes, I remember we used to go making trips in, and we'd write some. So, all right. How do you deal with a lousy co-writer collaborator? Misappointments, don't write when they're there. I stopped writing with them, and that's one thing, because you know, that kind of work ethic is not going to be someone that is probably going to rise up, and not someone who can take you with them. That's for sure. I think a lot of times when that happens is because they're really good at one thing. Like they're an artist, they sing great, they look great, and you're like, oh, maybe they can happen, right? They got that something. But still, the artists that make it are the ones that have work ethic. I've wasted a lot of time working with artists that, you know, it's like trying to push rope, and I wanted their career to happen more than they did, and it didn't happen. None of those people have happened because they didn't want it bad enough to show up and do the work. And so what I try to do is find other co-writers that can fill that slot on that day, and not write with those people because I don't have time to waste. I mean, I had to write with this is probably a year ago now, but write with a guy that got recommended, a potential artist. And so it was another buddy of mine that I trusted, and he brought this person in. And the guy spent most of the time not writing and kind of complaining about chances he hadn't had and that kind of thing. And I'm not going to write with that person again because I'm like, yeah, you sing well, but there are a bunch of people in town that sing well, but there are also people in town that are writing great songs today and working their tails off. And if you're focused on what hasn't happened for you and that kind of stuff, first of all, I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. Second of all, you have an opportunity right now to be writing a song. If you don't realize what opportunities you have, you're probably not going to make it. So I cut that person out because I have no desire to work with them anymore. Let's see. Roderick says, write with someone who can, let's see, at least see what you see. Anything different wouldn't work. Yeah, I mean, you got to have it's great when there's some creative rub, some friction to sharpen you and to not just be, you know, if they agree with you all the time, what are they doing in the room? You don't need them. But I agree that you want to have a same kind of vision. What are we writing for? What's the goal? And the goal's a great song. Hey, Maggie May, is busking good practice? Also, you don't worry about, I guess, co-write when sharing. I'm kidding. So there's copyright. So I'm not sure I get that question, but busking, I think busking can be good practice. I'm a lyricist, so I've never busted, but whatever that word is. So it's good practice as far as getting and keeping attention. You know, can you perform the song? Is there something in there that gets somebody's attention? What parts do people drop the money in the open guitar case for? Or what part do they start walking off during? Pay attention to that stuff because you want your song to keep their attention the whole way through. So I think that's a good way to go. And so if you pay attention to it, look at it as research, hopefully make a couple bucks, but also just the research of when do people stop and listen. So let's see. Ruth Ann says, like to write in the morning with a cup of coffee. Cheers. But also when I'm riding down the road. So it's hard to strum. So I guess you're working on lyrics and melody. But yeah, again, voice memos, that kind of stuff can be great to sing little melodies and stuff into or recite some lyric into. I've done that plenty of times. Yep. So Nicole asks, where are the best places to live around there? I guess you mean like live around Nashville. Man, it depends on price range. Mount Juliet's a great area just east of town. Franklin is of course a great area. It's super expensive. So I never lived in Franklin. And so it just depends. Real estate people should be able to tell you the best places. So it depends on what your needs are, I guess. So let's see. Sandra says, her friend Eric Emerson is a songwriter. Please advise where he can send his songs. Depends on his goal, right? Does he want to get cuts? Is he looking for a publisher? Is he looking for co-writers? That sort of thing. So it's very goal dependent on where they are and what they're ready to do. So Maggie said copyright. So do I worry about the copyright when I'm sharing songs? No, I don't. For one thing, you can't copyright a title. You cannot copyright an idea or an approach to a title or an idea. And so you just have to be, hey, if I share this, there is a chance, yeah, somebody could kind of jack my angle and my approach to the song, kind of the gist of the song. But my job is to write it better than them anyway, and to get it to the right people faster than anyone else can anyway. But according to U.S. law, you said you have copyright in Canada. According to U.S. law anyway, as soon as the song is in a fixed form, meaning you sing it into a recorder, you write down the lyric, you own the copyright at that point. Then you just register it with the Copyright Office, and that lets the U.S. government know and put an official kind of date on when the copyright is. But you own it, whether or not you've registered it. It's just a matter of proving it. So a lot of pros, man, that we don't even send off a copyright until we know the song's been cut or until we know it's going to come out. Just because it's like 40, 50 bucks a pop, and that gets expensive real quick. If you write a bunch, which hopefully you do, you know, if I write 50 to 100 songs in a year, I do not need to be spending $5,000 on copyrights because most of those songs are never going to make a dime, and I know that. So wait till they look like they're going to make something, then you send it off and protect it. But you know, you keep records in your notebooks, and when you write online or in your word processing document, all that kind of stuff. I keep it on the calendar. So I try to keep a paper trail of the song, like old versions of the lyric, all that stuff, just to help prove data creation. Of course, I do so much co-writing that it's on both of our calendars, and we have maybe the GarageBand or the song file that day, that kind of stuff, just to help prove that. Let's see. Hey, Landon Wall. Good to see you, bud. Let's see. Nicolette, thanks for being here. And Lance, hey, Lance. Sam, voice memos when I'm on my morning dog walk. Yep, that's a great way to do it, too. Marilyn, new Freddie member. Hey, Marilyn. Uses Rhyme Zone and look up synonyms to see how I can say something differently or find a better rhyme to still say the same thought. So, yeah, I used to get on Rhyme Zone a lot more than I do now, but, yeah, it's good to know it's still around. Oh, you're welcome, Maggie Mee. Glad it's helpful advice. 23rd Hour asked, what are some of the best co-writing tips you've been given? Part of it is take some time to get to know each other. You know, if it's a brand new person, relax, breathe a little bit. I mean, you are there to work, but if you can find some sort of common ground as people to connect as people, that's going to give you a lot more foundation to work from. And you may find out, wow, you're going through a divorce. I'm going through a divorce. Let's talk about, why don't we write about that today, or whatever. Or you just got a new girlfriend. So did I, or whatever. You love the Razorbacks. So do I. You know, whatever it is. So chill a little bit, get to know each other a little bit, see if there's some place that you connect real life, and that'll give you a great place to write from. There's that, but also, man, one thing for me is I try to let my co-writers do what they're best at. Meaning, if they're great at, if they're great at grooves, if they're great at up-tempo positive, I want to write up-tempo positive with them. If they're great at traditional country honky-tonkin', that's probably what I want to write with them, because I want them to do what they're best at, because that's going to give the song the best chance to be successful. And to be patient, I mean, definitely bring in ideas. Bring in grooves, bring in tracks, bring in titles, ideas, concepts. That way it gets the ball rolling, and at least they know that you took it seriously and that's respectful and it's professional. You may not write what you brought in that day or what they bring in that day, but it gets the conversation going, and okay, we got these in our pocket, and we can bring these out, and if we don't write them, that's fine, but man, we know we did our homework. We have something we can write today, and that takes a lot of pressure off instead of just sitting there trying to come up with nothing out of thin air. I don't like to do that. It happens sometimes, and that's great when it happens, because then I still have all those ideas I prepped to bring to my next co-write. But yeah, definitely do your homework, pre-write, get some ideas together. Let's see, live life right. Let's see, how can you forget you're creative when you have that as your Instagram handle? So I listen to backing tracks in different keys to get the ball rolling. So that's cool. Let's see, Orlando. How do splits work in Nashville? Is it generally split equally regardless of contribution? Yes, it is. We don't even talk about splits anymore. I mean, I can't remember the last time I had a co-write where we actually discussed how the splits are going to go, just because it's assumed, and just that's how we do it. Everything's split equally among everybody in the room. And some days I may not contribute too much. Other days I contribute a lot more. We just figure over time, if everyone's pro and they're all working hard, it's going to even out. So it's better to be generous on some days, because some days you're going to need people to be generous with you. And if somebody's consistently not bringing very much to the table, eventually they're not invited back to the table. But then if you are, just sometimes it ebbs and flows. Some days somebody's on fire, and your job is just to be the cheerleader and go, keep going, you're doing great. And you're just, you're scribing, you're just writing it down. Other days you're the one that's on fire, and they're just happy to be in the room as well. So goes around, comes around. yeah, so standard is just even splits. And yeah, we don't do like line counting, that kind of stuff, because I think a great thing about even splits too is it helps remove some of the ego, and then the only profit motive is for the whole song, right? Because we're all going to do the same. So I'm not going to fight for my line or my little piece of melody here or there because I get a bigger piece of the pie. Then everyone's working on making the tastiest pie possible, right? We want the song to win. If the song wins, then everybody wins, and we all share in that equally. Not I want my line, or I want my verse, my chorus, because then I'll get a bigger piece of the pie, and if it gets cut, I get, that's more money for me. No, then you're just thinking, what's the best for this song? And then the song ends up better, and everybody wins. So, all right, we're about 35 minutes in, so I'm going to go ahead and close down. But again, if this is helpful, how important is it to have a good hang? Sam, it is real important, because I've had times where I won the song but lost the co-write because it wasn't a good hang. We just didn't quite mesh, and even though the song was good and got demoed, didn't get another day on the books. Other times the first song's not great, but the hang was great. You get another day on it, and eventually those songs become great. So the hang is very important. Meaning, just, are you good to be around? Do people like hanging out with you? Hugely important in music business. But yeah, so if you're interested, if this is helpful, I'd appreciate a share. Again, we have the Know the Pro events coming up with independent song plugger Shane Barrett, who just landed a Trisha Yearwood cut and has several other cuts to his credit, and with hit music publisher Tim Hunzy of Anthem Entertainment, a bunch of cuts to his credit. Coming up in August is free for members of Freddie.com, FRETTIE.com. So if you're interested in that, go check out Freddie.com. We'd love to have you join us. A lot of other cool stuff going on there on a constant basis. If you are a Freddie member, we have the jam session tonight. So just ask me so we can take this, but we're like face-to-face online. And anyway, I appreciate y'all. Thanks for hanging out. Again, I appreciate the share if this is helpful to you. All right, God bless. Bye.